Yay! As you can see, Kula Fam decorate completely. So we're super excited to be in studio kuda full in season. So for those of you that don't know, it is my favorite season of the year. So I'm very excited about spooky season. Habíamos vete papiando na inglés, just an FYI before we start. Paasinan-nos por papel un tópico que hopi importante y ayer era todo día de bestia. So, en combinación con ese, me decidí que nos papel algo about animals. Anto, mi tata actually, shout out to dad. A conocer una señora, anto el examen I think this would be really cool for your program. Because he knows me and he knows topics that I like. Anto, indeed, so habíamos ting Snoop Doggy Foundation, un gis mi tabelaga Esther introduci su mes, contanos quem eta e kiko eta hasi. Pero gis un FYI, con nos switching over na inglés. Anto, prometo me seguir mi service dank na mi awesome sponsors for allowing me to talk about whatever I want to talk about. So thank you, I appreciate you. Dank na Toto, na La Roche-Posay. Anto again, for allowing me to talk about whatever I want to talk about. And I want to be educating children about responsible pet ownership. So if you have been listening to Sincerely Carolina for a while, or this year, a couple of episodes, you know that I care about this topic. We had Awa, we had Sergeant Peppers not too long ago. We have had them a couple of times already because I think it is an important subject. And although I do feel like we are, as a whole, as a country, as an island, doing a little better, I think that we can always improve and make better choices. So I will continue educating until then, and maybe even beyond that. The reality is that we have to start young and that we have to repeat these things because you might not have a pet today and then you don't think about it, but then you decide to have a pet tomorrow and then you really need to think about it. So we will be talking a little bit about the education of children, which is very specific group, and there's a reason for that. But without further ado, I will let Esther introduce herself, tell us who she is, what she does, and why she's here today. So Esther, welcome to Sincerely Carolina. How are you? Tell us who you are.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you. Well, you mentioned it already. My name is Esther. I'm the founder of the foundation Snoop Doggy. We started last year in June. And actually we focus on education to children about the responsible pet ownership. That's basically what we do.
Yes, that is basically it. That was a very short introduction, Esther. But I did go to your website and I saw that you had a story as to why you started with this and why you cared about the subject. And I also think it was so funny because you mentioned in your story that it was gonna be like a passion project if you won the lottery.
Yeah, that was the thing, because I was thinking like, okay, I want to make booklets because I myself like to read. And I like animals. So I wanted to make a booklet, but it's very costly to print. So that was what keeping me a little back. And then a friend of mine told me last year, just start. You don't have to wait for the lottery. Just start, find sponsors, and go ahead. So I was like, yeah, maybe she's right. And then it went really fast because before I knew we had a booklet with paintings from Desiree from the Donkey Sanctuary, and yeah, it was amazing. We had a lot of sponsors at the time, and we were able to print like 2,500 booklets, and yeah, then it started. So yeah, it was really cool.
And I think that it goes to show that a lot of people might have really good ideas and good intentions, but the reality is that to do these things, it often does cost money. And I think that unless you're doing these type of works, you don't really know that, or you don't perceive the costs. But that sometimes you just need like a friend, right, or a group of people to just push you and be like, yes, we know that is a barrier, but also there's a lot of other people who want to contribute to great things, right? And the education of children about animal welfare is something that I don't necessarily think would be too hard to sell in a way, but it affects us all. So I think that the moment we realize that, I think that we can gain a lot of support, and we kind of just get in our heads maybe sometimes, but I'm so happy your friend did push you and you did not wait for you to win the lottery, right? I mean, I do hope you win the lottery one day, but
Yeah, then we can make even more booklets. So lottery is always welcome.
right. But that you didn't have to wait for that, because I think a lot of people miss opportunities to do really great things waiting on, perfect timing or the perfect opportunity. So Esther, tell us a little bit about what is your goal with, the foundation, but with the booklet, and how you try to achieve this goal through the work that you do.
Well, we started with the first booklet, Snoop Doggy vindt een huisje. And that's about a dog who got adopted and coming in a family who really takes care of it by feeding it, taking care of it for the ticks and fleas and stuff. Mm-hmm. So there's a kind of message in every chapter how to take care of your pet. Then we did, because my first thoughts were, okay, I make a booklet, I provide it to the schools, that's it. Mm-hmm. But after a year, it's getting so big, so we made a second booklet because Geraldine from 9 Lives, the cat foundation, she was like, S, don't forget the cats. And I was like, no, I'm working on a second booklet about cats. So there it was, Kitty Purry. But that was not enough, because we provide the first booklet to the 3rd class of elementary school, the second booklet to the 4th class of elementary school. But then you miss the youngsters, like Trimedias, those kind of things. So my friend in Holland told me, as we have to do something about education boxes. So now we have an educational box full of stuff where children just can play with it. There are small booklets about puppies and kittens. There's a whole set of veterinarian stuff like stethoscope and those kind of things, just to make them aware. But we want to make it a bigger project, so we're now working on making money and a card with questions. For example, do you know how much a bag of food costs? And then they have to put the money on the table, just for them to let them think about the cost for the vet, for the food and everything. And we do presentations on schools. And especially when we provide the booklets. So last week we had a few schools who invited us. And then we go in the school with a dog. The children love that. As soon as they see the dog,
it's like, I'm interested.
Yeah. So Rowan is very famous at the moment on the island. And then we do a small talk about the caring part, that it's part of your family, that you have to take care of it. If it becomes sick, you have to go to the vet. Something about fireworks. For me, that's a very special topic. And so we expand it every time. So I was like, okay, first we started with 1 booklet, now we have 2, and an education box and a presentation. So it becomes bigger and bigger. So that's really nice.
And you mentioned a lot of very interesting things, because one of them is that you are targeting children, and in our culture, which differs from your home culture and also differs from my home culture as well, because my dad, who you've met, is also Dutch. When we talk about having pets, afspraken, right? I grew up with that word and I live by that word. So if it's going to be your pet, you are going to have chores. If it's going to be a family pet, the chores are going to be divided, right? But there are clear responsibilities that come with owning a pet, whether if it's a cat, whether if it's a dog, and it differs depending on the pet. If it's a hamster, if it's a bunny, if it's a bird. The point is that what I have seen, growing up in Aruba and knowing people, is that people tend to take pets in, whatever it may be, and then go and figure out what it is that a pet needs. Yep. And that might mean that you got a pet that doesn't match your family dynamic, that doesn't match your schedule, or the level of time or finances that you might have to take care of said pet. That is one, but also I think that sense of responsibility and ownership also gets lost. I like the idea of being like, okay, it's a family pet, but if you don't talk about whose responsibility it is to do what, then yes, it is the family's pet, but then it kind of becomes nobody's pet because nobody takes ownership of that responsibility. And I think that, next to that, the way that our culture works, it's usually parents take care of these things, and we tend to not teach children these responsibilities and to take ownership, right, of said pet or anything for that matter. So I really like that, you have chosen to target children because, of course, they grow up and become responsible adults. So that is a win, even if they don't have a pet now. They can take the message home, but also I think it does create a mind shift that if we do decide to take a pet, is this my pet? And then if it is my pet, it is my responsibility to do A, B, C, D. How have you experienced, this whole maybe cultural experience with how Arubans might look at pet ownership, or it's not just Arubans, but this side of the world, like the Caribbean. How have you experienced that?
Let's start that in Holland years ago there was the same problem, but in years it's getting better, of course, but also in Holland there are people dumping their pets, don't take care of them enough, don't have the money to go to the vet. So it's a big problem everywhere. Here it's more visible because we live outside. So you see more dogs on the streets. Cats, it's even a bigger problem, but they hide very well, so you don't see it. What I noticed when we go to schools, one of the first questions in a presentation is always who has a pet. So almost all the children have pets. Okay. And they have like 3 dogs, 4 dogs, a few cats, turtles, those kind of things. But if I noticed also that when we go with a dog in the classroom, the children are not used to touch a pet.
Okay.
So there is a thing. There was one girl who backed up when the dog approached her. I was like, "You have 5 dogs at home. How is that possible?" And I know because most of them are living in the yard, somewhere in the back. They only get some food and stuff. So we try to teach the children also that for the dog you are everything. So when you come home from school, he likes attention, he likes to play, he likes to go out. And the last week we asked several times who is going to the beach with them or walk with them. Almost everybody is doing that, and I'm like, I never see it, so that was funny. But it's just to make them aware
that you're supposed
that it's more than a thing. And actually, one of the first pages in the booklet, I also make a note so that the dad of the children who got the Snoop Doggy told them it's not for 1 or 2 years. It's a commitment for life. So if you have one, you cannot dump it after a year because you don't like it, because he destroys things, because he's a puppy and he's bored. So we have to start at a young age, and this is not easy to see in 1 or 2 years.
No.
It's long term. Yeah. But I hope that we will see a difference in 5 or 10 years. I really hope we see a difference, because this is it's too much. The foundations are overfull with all the dumped animals, all the litters. Nobody is spaying and neuter their pets, so they get babies after babies. That needs to change. So
I liked how you mentioned, that realization that pets are for longer than, because it might seem logical, right? Or I think it kind of seems logical, but it doesn't necessarily click with a lot of people. So I remember when my husband decided that. So I brought in a cat first, and cats are more independent, right? We were living in an apartment first. Now we have our house, but cats are easier in smaller spaces, and you don't have to potty train them, right? There is, I don't want to say little, but much less that goes into having a kitten than there is into having a puppy. And I remember my husband was like, I feel like I want a dog. And I told him, I'm like, I grew up with dogs. Dogs are a commitment. It's serious. Like, do we have the time for this? And we really need to talk about it because, even if you say it's your dog, to a certain extent, it's going to be my responsibility too. We both have to be on the same page. And that is also a commitment. It's not just training it when it's puppy and feeding it, etc. But it's also, if we decide to go on vacation, you have to have a plan. If the dog gets sick, you have to have a plan. Like, you have to be able to budget unforeseen expenses, whatever it may be. And we really talked about it. So, I told him, I'm a little on the fence about it because I'm the kind of person that I would have like every animal if I could afford it. But I'm also aware that it's going to take time and effort. Yes. So he did like a bunch of research and he's like, okay, I think I am ready. And I'm just like, okay, you say you're ready, right? And then he was like, okay, I'm gonna pick the dog. And I'm like, this is gonna be a you project, you do that, and then we got our first dog, and it's like you said, the first year is tough. The first 2 years, if you have like a big breed, are tough. Like they are going to explore and they are going to destroy a lot of things. Like our dog did a mess, but it's a realization that I at no moment thought, this dog is being so annoying, I'm gonna get rid of it. It was more of a realization that, it's like, I wish I had the chill dog, but this is the one we got, and this is its, personality. And I try to make, and I know it's not the same, but I try to tell people, if a parent tells you, my kid is terrible, I'm gonna take it to the shelter, we immediately say, like, that sounds crazy, you can't do that. Yeah. But once you commit to a pet, that should be the idea that they might come with a personality that is not what you expected, because they do have personalities. And then the answer should not be, I'm gonna dump it. The moment you make that decision, your life, I don't want to say it should revolve around them, but you should be aware that you might have to do adaptations at home, right? When they're puppies, not leave stuff around that they can bite and swallow. Take them out more. If you have a breed that is a working dog, you have to work them so they are not bored, right? Yeah. But like you said, then you have people that have, they get a pet or a dog, because it's pretty or whatever, and then they bring it home and half of the family is afraid of it. And they don't understand why it's jumping. And I'm like, that is so typical for that breed. Or maybe they wanted a hyper dog, but then they got a dog that is not at all hyper. And I'm like, you can't go jogging with this dog. It's going to have a heart attack. But it is very peculiar to see that is how we go about that choice, right? And I think that there is a lot of work to be done in continuing educating children, but also adults, right? So that we can all as a society be good models for children growing up and seeing that is how we treat pets. And I think that for as long as children see a lot of pets on the streets and, or living in yards and never going out, that is going to be like their norm. So you are, as a foundation, coming in and fighting that norm that they are seeing outside, and they're getting this new information and being like, this doesn't sound like what I see in my neighborhood, but is this how it's supposed to be?
It's not fighting. It's more try to look at another way to
yes.
it. Because I know, it's not something you change in a year. Mm-mm. Their mentality, it's like that. They saw it from grandpa and grandma. They saw it from their parents. So for them, it's common behavior. Mm-hmm. And we like to change that behavior and let them see it from another way. Because like you say, if you don't pay attention to a dog and he destroys things, it's getting worse. Mm-hmm. That means that he's bored or he needs to do something. And also, when you go on vacation, you have to be aware who's going to take care of it. If you bring it to the dog hotel, it costs money. Mm-hmm. So all those kind of things. But I think it's also it overcome them. They have a aunt or an uncle who has puppies. They get a puppy and it's there.
Okay.
It's like you said before.
It's not like a conscious choice.
They don't think about it. Mm-hmm. It's not their choice to pick a dog. Of of course, sometimes it is.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with the dogs who are very popular, like Chihuahuas, Pit Bulls, those kind of dogs. But most of the time, they just receive it as a gift. And especially these days, Christmas is coming. Yeah, for us, it's, you know, there are two parts. They get a puppy as a regalo, and they dump the elderly dogs because they have to clean their yard because everything needs to be nice for Christmas, and they dump it everywhere.
Oh no.
And yeah, because that's also a thing that we start with the educational part, because we have so many foundations, and you mentioned a few already. They do such a great job by a spay and neuter, taking care of them, picking up the street. But the educational part, they don't have time for it because it's so time consuming, and they have to take care of so many puppies, adult dogs. They don't have time to go to schools. And I was like, okay, we have to do something about that too, because together, all things together, that makes the difference in the end. But yeah,
because otherwise you're like fighting fires, right? Because if you're just picking up after the fact,
yeah, the people know, oh, we dump them because there's a foundation who picks them up anyway. But it's not possible anymore because the puppies cannot go to the US anymore under 6 months. So that is a big problem. And yeah, if, for example, Criollo Trappers is trapping dogs, those are adult dogs, but 9 of the 10 times there are puppies involved too. They cannot leave it on the street. And so they take them in too. But yeah, you have just a certain spot where you can leave them, and then it's full. And then people start complaining, yeah, they don't pick up the dogs. You know, we call several times. And yeah, I understand that frustration because, for example, I have a colleague who has in her area several dog moms with puppies. One is pregnant and she wants help, but the foundations are full. And so, and this is not, we're not solving the problem with the booklets in a short time, but hopefully in a few years we see the difference.
Exactly. And I do think that it works. There's a lot that stick with children. You know, once children are in school, they obviously see school and teachers and everybody that kind of comes in that environment as, you know, authoritative figures and figures that they look up to. So, you know, there is really an opportunity by going to the school, an environment that they already see and perceive as educational, that, you know, you get to teach them things about life as well, right? Beyond, you know, their curricular.
It's always a combination. It's never only this problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, yes. So you mentioned you are going to schools. So I am wondering, how has been the acceptance of schools, and, you know, like how are they reaching out to you, and how has that been? Like, do you feel like, okay, we're doing, you know, enough? Do you feel like, you know, we should definitely be getting more schools involved? How is that going? How has that been?
Well, before the summer vacation, we sent a message to the schools that we will provide the booklets at the end of September, just before the herfstvakantie. And a few schools respond. Actually, those are the same schools as last year.
Okay.
And they ask if we can come with the dog and do the presentation. And most of the schools, I think I mentioned it to you, there are like 30 or almost 40 elementary schools on the island. And from 6, we got a response.
Wow.
So, yeah, we want to do much more than that. And the last few days, we also provide the booklets just by bringing it in and just, you know, leave it there and go. And some schools are really, happy with it and like it. The children really like to receive a booklet. They are excited when you say, yeah, everybody get a booklet. We did it on purpose too, because it's not the most, of course, a lot of booklets printing is expensive, but it's not that expensive. So we can provide all the children a booklet. They can bring it home. It's in 2 languages.
Yes.
So it's for the parents also good to read.
It's a good conversation starter.
Yeah, but I wish more schools got involved, and I understand that they have already such a full schedule.
Yeah.
And also the children, because I hear from several, I don't have children, but I hear from several colleagues, yeah, this one needs to go to sport this one needs to have a dance class, this one. So they have, beside their school, they have a lot of other activities. So I understand that schools, I'm not the only foundation who wants to
Reach out to them.
Yeah. So there are more who ask them for time or favors or whatever. But yeah, hopefully when the schools see other schools having fun, seeing the presentation, seeing the dog, that they are like, oh yeah, maybe that's a good idea. But that's the same with sponsors. Education is not a real popular topic to sponsor, because a sad puppy, that gains more money than for example, our booklets. So I hope, because last week Enya is also one of our sponsors, and they asked us to join us for a presentation just to see what we do and everything.
Nice.
So they sent somebody, and Samir was really excited. Oh, that's a good project. I like it. And hopefully, also with that, more companies, local companies,
can see
the
that
importance of it and wants to sponsor us, because
it costs money, right? That is the reality.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you have like the same schools coming or reaching out. I have that experience as well. I'm also involved in foundations, and sometimes I also send out free resources, and it's just like, hey, here are some resources, just send them by email. And then you might pose a question like, do you need extra resources that are like physical, you need to come pick them up or whatever. And it's the same thing. Exactly. You have like so many schools, and then you might have like the same couple of schools that every year are like, thanks, we received it, right? Just that simple, like, receive, thank you, we will spread it out between our teachers. Hi, we would like to have like the extra resources. And then you have, like even less that are like, okay, we would like a presentation or something like that. And I know, like you said, that they're busy and stuff like that. But what I have also noticed is that we tend to function, as a culture in emergency situations. So once something happens, then they're like, we need a presentation now, like tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, we sent you an email 3 months ago when we were making a schedule. Now we don't have a spot, or we are past the presentation times. Now you have to wait until we have like a general presentation or something like that. So that is also something that for maybe teachers listening, and I know there are a lot of teachers doing really awesome work in their own individual classrooms.
There are a lot.
Yes. I love teachers. I always tell them, like, I love the work that they do. Today's Teacher Day, so I do want to mention that, Yes.
I didn't know.
Today's Teacher Day, so I do want to mention that there is a lot of teachers doing a lot of amazing work individually, like in their classes. And they tell me like sometimes I'll reach out about a project or I know teachers that care about animal stuff, and sometimes I'll post an episode and they're like, Karina, can I have their number? I think that would be a fun thing for my class. And then I ask them, like, how is how are the other teachers, like, do you want to do maybe something for a whole school? I think one year I encouraged schools to like collect like food and stuff like that for the foundations. And I think there was like 2 teachers who did it like super fun in their class. Like they made like a box and made it super cute for the pets.
They also from the Schakel for 9 Lives and Luna Foundation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they'll do that, and then you have teachers next to you, and they're like, no.
Yeah, and it's not wrong that you don't like animals.
It's not wrong. Yes,
but
I agree.
Last week we had a boy who doesn't like dogs. Yeah, you don't have to like dogs.
No.
As long as you don't harm them, it's fine with me.
Exactly.
And
as long as you don't.
Yeah, what you say, there are teachers who really excited. They as soon as I send the email, they reach out. Hey, Esther, can you come with the presentation and with the dog? But there are also teachers who don't care. They don't like animals. They don't want to. Yeah. do something in their class about it. So yeah, we have to accept that too.
Yes.
What I want to say is that more and more Trimedias ask us to come and do a presentation. And sometimes it's difficult because a few weeks ago we had a presentation at the Trimedia and the kids were only 3 years old. So that's really difficult to tell something about ticks and fleas and spay and neuter, for example. But then my other board member read something about out the booklet.
Yes.
And the children were listening, and so that's good.
But that's
too.
nice.
But
yes.
it's good that Trimediers start already with asking.
Yep.
So next week we have a few because it's also vacation.
Right, and some kids go there. Yeah. But and like you said, you don't necessarily have to like something, or of course the moment that you do, you care more. I understand that. But I think that when you're a teacher, or not even the teachers, but like the principals of the schools, who are usually the people getting these type of emails and stuff. Maybe you don't have pets. Maybe you don't care about pets. Or care to have them. But it doesn't mean that this can really positively impact a lot of children. And the reality is that a lot of people do have pets, right? So I also want to encourage people who are listening that even if you don't have pets, if you are a teacher, if you are a principal, but if you're a parent maybe, and maybe you don't have pets at home, do ask your kid about it. Like, do you learn something about that, or do they talk about it at your school? Because at the end of the day, we know that in Aruba, it is not, an individual home issue. It is an island-wide issue. So even if you are doing your best being a responsible pet owner, even if you are doing your best, by spaying and neutering, or not having pets, so you don't have to dump them or whatever, it doesn't mean that there is no issue. We can't live in a bubble and be like, it's not happening. It is happening. So we can't, in that process, close the opportunity for others to learn about it. So I think that's a very interesting way to look at it. So I do want to ask you something. What is the funniest or weirdest thing that children have asked you, or that you have experienced while presenting to children when you talk about these topics?
Well, it's not the weirdest thing. Like I said before, when we ask if they go out, everybody goes out with their dog, and I'm like, I don't know if that is true.
I'm going to call you liars, but...
and I noticed that a lot of children know what's bad for a dog, like food-wise. So if I start asking, do you know what's bad for a dog? The first thing, chocolate.
Okay.
So they know. They don't know that the bones of chicken is bad too. So we explain that, and also the maishi. Not the yellow ones, but the
cob,
the hard thing inside. So we teach them. So I was surprised that they know, and I always want to talk about the klapchi. So we start asking who likes the klapchi. Not everybody likes klapchi. Most of them. Most of them know that dogs don't like it, or most dogs don't like it, or are afraid of it. And for me, it's a really important topic because a few years ago we found out the dog of our neighbor with the eyes popped out full of blood because she had fireworks in her eyes. So she became blind, and she's living with us now. She's doing great.
Okay.
But I want to tell them about that issue because just for them to be aware of it. And I noticed that they are like, oh wow, that's really bad. So it's just a small seed you plant in their brains.
Yes.
To think about it when it comes to klapchi, that maybe, there was a lady in the school and she was talking about it, like that. I think it's no. Well, I the first few presentations last year, I was surprised that almost every child has animals.
Okay.
Pets at home.
That's not
like
something
dogs,
you
cats.
expected?
Well, I know that almost every household has.
Yeah.
But it was really confronting that from
when
the
you
25 children, 24 put their finger up. Yeah, I have pets.
Okay.
So that was, now I know that almost everybody has one. And what surprises me is that they have pets, but they are not afraid of them, but are not used to, pet them or kiss them or I don't know, touch them or play with them. For me, that's weird. Especially when it comes to puppies, they're cute. You want
to play with them.
Yeah, at least I want to. If I see a puppy, I want to hold it and I want to talk to it like
same,
like that.
Same.
Yeah.
Any dog. I'm like, I see a person with a dog and I'm like, dog first.
Yeah, I most of the time I know the name of the dog faster than the name of the people next to it. But yeah, so yeah. But yeah, I think that were the things that got my attention, and we try to ask questions, and it's not in our cases we didn't have weird things, but I know from Zoe from Luna Foundation, she said sometimes they mention that their grandfather or grandmother is beating the dog or those kind of things. Thank God nobody told me, because I don't know how to respond on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if that's, and that's a thing. I mean, obviously Zoe works a lot on that particular aspect, so she might, talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, and she comes more at the houses itself.
Yes,
so
yes.
she sees other things. I know because I know all foundations and I know all stories. But yeah.
I think that might create, the space for children to share that type of things. But yeah, I mean, that is a possibility, right? I think that some children do see that and they might talk about it. And even if they might not say it, maybe after your presentation, they're like, oh, wait, but that definitely doesn't sound like what we do at home. And they might experience a little cognitive dissonance and they
like
have to battle with it.
Just a small seed, what you put in their brains, and maybe it helps. And from the 25 children, if 5 go home and act different after the presentation, it's a win-win already.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. All right, so I have another question.
Shoot.
Yes. So you're doing these presentations, and you have the booklets, and you talk about simpler things like feeding and walking, but you also talk about medication and vet and stuff like that, and you have now started to incorporate that also in games, right? Of how much does it cost, etc. And children need to learn this, but I feel like a lot of adults also do not think about these things, that it comes with pet ownership. How come that you decided to make this also a very important part of your educational aspect? Does it have to do with things that you have seen, like that you feel like, okay, this is not what people think about or what children are thinking about? How did you make it that you talk about fleas and ticks medication and you talk about vets in a way that children can understand and also are receptive to that?
Well, we have 10 dogs at home, so I know how costly it can be.
Can be, yes.
So yeah, it's to make them aware that it's costly to have a pet, and it's better to have one, which you can take good care of it, than to have 10 and you don't do anything with it. They need flea and ticks medication. They need to go once a while to a vet. You need to spay and neuter them. The children in 3rd and 4th class are a little too young about the spay and neuter part, but you can teach them in a
simple
easier way that it's not good to have so many babies in a year.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do with all those puppies? But I also understand besides the foundation, I have a full-time job and I do payroll for clients. So I know most of the people don't have a huge
funds.
Salary.
Yep.
So they had already a lot of stress to take care of themselves and their children to get the end of the month done. So I know that a lot of them don't even have the money to actually to have a dog or a cat. Yeah, they can give human food if it's necessary, but as soon as the dog becomes sick, it's an issue.
Yeah.
So I try to tell them that ticks can make a dog sick. So prevent it. it's cheaper than that you have to go
Yep.
afterwards to a vet. I worked at a vet also. I know that a lot of people cannot afford it. Actually, they ask for arreglo di pagos, and I think it's necessary to teach them that they have to save money, not only for pets but for
In
a lot
general.
of things.
Yes,
in general.
yes, for life.
But for life. But to put some money on the side, that if something happens, that you are able to bring it to the vet and can take care of it, because it's in the end it's your responsibility, not the one from, because I know also people who became mad that the vet didn't want to help because they cannot afford it. I'm like, yeah, but it's your responsibility, it's your pet, so you have to be aware of that. And if you become sick, you want to go to a doctor too, you want to have medication too. So it's the same for a pet.
And I think, and I always say this in my show, I always say, I'm like, we should be so grateful that we have universal health care, that we have, the AZV law and the way that it's organized. But after having lived abroad and understanding, so my background is in health administration, and I understand how, healthcare works outside
And
of
it's
our bubble.
expensive. Medication is expensive.
It is expensive,
Yeah.
but we have grown up so used to this system. And a lot of people, when they go abroad, they go to like the Netherlands, and then they might have a little shock there because you have to individually pay for an insurance, and then you might have a copay, but it's very well organized there as well. And I went to the Netherlands first, and then I went to the US, and even though we have good insurance, once you go as a student, they make sure that you have good insurance. I had friends that literally told me, like, I'm super sick, and I could see, I'm like, you probably have strep throat or something, like you really need to go see a doctor. And we have school nurses, and the school nurses will say something, and they're like, yeah, but like I can't afford it. I literally cannot afford it. And I think that once you understand those things, that you start to live thinking that I have to save money for healthcare, right? It's the same for pets. Because we are not used to that, because we are used to, you just go, whatever is happening to you in Aruba, you can call your primary, your GP, your general physician, your family physician, you can get an appointment eventually, and then if you need specialist care, yes, you might have to wait whatever waiting time there is, but you will never not get care because you can't pay for it. Like that's not. But when you go to a vet in Aruba, pets don't have AZV. You have to pay for it, right? And then you might have no idea how much antibiotics are not necessarily expensive, but you might not have an idea that medications cost money, right? That preventative care costs money. Yes.
And a lot of people are complaining, the vet is so expensive. And I was like, but they have to buy all the stuff
exactly
as a stock, because if you need it, you need it
now.
You need it now. It's costly, and everything got imported. It's not that we have it here, so we have to get it from America, from the Netherlands, sometimes Colombia, and it's good quality of stuff. It's not like we buy it at AliExpress or So, but
ship it from Shane or whatever.
For me, it's double, because on one part I know that most people don't have a big salary, and for them, like I said, it's really difficult to make the month end. But on the other hand, I'm like, okay, if you cannot afford it, don't have a pet.
Yes.
But I know that there's also, like I say, the neighbor has puppies, they give it to the child. And of course, children like puppies. But it becomes bigger too. It starts eating more. You need to vaccinate it. It needs to get spayed. And thank God there are now the PO United and the AWA who doing the spay and neuter part, together with Stimami, of course, and the help of the government. Government, by the way, is helping us also with the booklets.
Nice.
So I'm really thankful for that.
Yes.
I want to say it because there are so many things on social media, especially the tourists. The government should do something about it. They do. And for us, it's never fast enough or good enough, but at least they see the problem and they're working on it, and they help where they can. But I know people can hardly help themselves, so I know that it's difficult that they save money or put money on the side for their pets.
Yes.
But they have to be aware that it's costly and it's their responsibility in the end. Yes.
Exactly. And, children are learning these things and they might go home and they take this booklet and, these might be conversation starters. And then you might have a whole family who might be considering taking the neighbor's puppy, being like, we didn't actually think this through, right? We did not consider the cost maybe of flea and tick medication. We did not maybe consider vaccination costs, etc. So that might be an opportunity that people can make better choices, make better informed choices about deciding to take a pet or not. And then you might, make a decision to go for something that might be less expensive. I don't know, a fish. I tried having fish. It doesn't work for me, but it might be.
We have one. It's my husband because you cannot pet it. You cannot talk to it.
I had.
People like it. Yeah.
I know, and that's okay, right? But that's also realization, because if you thought, oh, I wanted a dog or I wanted a cat, and then you get one of these booklets, and then you see, oh, I'm supposed to play with it, and I'm supposed to take it out for a walk, and I'm supposed to, then maybe a dog is not for me. Maybe I should get a fish, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I should get a plant. I don't know, something that doesn't require as much physical attention from me. And I think that we don't like having those, I don't want to call them difficult conversations, but they are conversations that push you to introspect a little bit. And I think they are very important, because a decision like that is not for, a couple months or a year. Sometimes it's for 16 years, right? So you kind of have to be sure, if you want to, for the upcoming 10 plus years, be willing to go on walks, be willing to, have a routine in the morning and in the afternoon that involves that pet. And some people don't, and like you said, it's not a bad thing. It's good that you know, and then you can make a choice based on that.
I wanted to tell the children so many things, but we have to keep it a little light and with humor in it. They like the poop and pee drawings in the booklet. Well, it's the first thing they see. They start laughing. Yeah, but that's good.
Yes.
But for the adults, I wanted them to know that especially for the rescue organizations, sometimes it's really hard. It goes under your skin. A lot of people got hurt emotionally because the lack of responsibility of others. Yeah. And that, I think that's for us in the field. And of course I'm not working with the living animals. For me it's a booklet. But I know, because, like I said, I know all the foundations. I worked at a vet, so I saw everything passing by. And I just told you this morning that a dog who got rescued died in the end because it was really sick. A lot of people got hurt emotionally and stressed out because they cannot save them all. And all the foundations wants to save as much as possible. So I really hope that people understand that you hurt other people by having a lack of responsibility for your own pets. And also you hurt the pets too, because for a pet it's not nice to walk on the street looking for food, see what's coming on his path, get beaten up in the neighborhood, those kind of things. So for the children, we like to make it a little light, because if I start with this, then I have.
They're like,
no. Well, I was in a class last week, and suddenly a girl was crying.
Aww.
So I approached. First, the teacher approached her, and I approached her later, and she was like, "Yeah, I just lost my cat."
Aww.
And I was like, "Well, at least you love the cat, because otherwise you don't respond like this." And not everybody is crying when they lose a pet, but most of the time, I think that's the biggest message we can give. Treat it like your own family. And of course here we have families who don't treat.
Yes, by all means, treat them like the family you like.
That's a good way to say it. Treat them like you want to be treated.
Yes.
You want to have attention, you want to have love, you want to have a doctor when you become sick. an animal is the same. They have feelings too. So I think that's the biggest message you can give, at least for the children.
Yes.
And then hopefully when they grow up, they act like it.
And I think that another very important thing to mention here is, when, and I hear this sometimes, when talking to other adults, they're like, yeah, but they're animals. And I just want to take this moment to highlight a very key difference between wild animals and between dogs and cats, right? Wild animals, I don't know, Iguana, Kododo, Warawara, they were never domesticated. Their purpose is not to be part of human life. They are supposed to be in the wild and they have their system to work. Dogs were bred to be part of our life.
They're
that is their
on us. Yeah.
Yes, that is their whole purpose. So I do want to make that distinction because I do think it is important that we think about that when we just want to put all animals in this bubble. All animals have different needs, and the way that we contribute or damage their life might be different. If we get rid of nature areas, we might directly be contributing to the downfall of certain species. But when we talk about domesticated pets, we are talking about pets who cannot make it on their own. They do not exist for the purpose of being part of the ecosystems. Cats and dogs do not exist as part of nature, right? They exist for us. And I do think that having that realization hopefully might help us also see them differently, and recognizing that, yes, we are not the humans, a couple thousand years ago that decided to take in, a coyote and a wolf or whatever and domesticate it and eventually bred them for purposes. It's not us, but it is now part of how we exist in this world. And we do have a responsibility to that, right?
Yeah.
So, Esther, I have a question, last question for you. If people want to learn more about your foundation, about Snoop Doggy, about how to get involved, about how to, getting you to give presentations at their schools or their organizations, whichever it may be, or, reaching out to upcoming activities, how do they reach out to you? Where can they find you? And what are things that they can do this week, which is vacation and some of the children are staying in Aruba?
Well, today, nice that you mention it.
Yes.
Today we have a very nice kids fun walk. There are still spots available. We start at 3:30 with painting faces, and
fun.
the theme is cats and dogs, of course. And the walk itself starts at 5:30. All children receive a stample card.
Okay.
They got stamps at the water stations. When the card is full, they can grab a regalo from the grabbelton.
Oh, fun.
We have ice cream. We have, I don't know why I bought it, but we have 2 suits, the dog version with air in it. So me and a volunteer are walking in those suits. They can have a picture with it, those. So it's fun. So
where
if
is this
people
activity?
have some time left, it's the parking lot at Costa Linda. There we start. And then we walk towards Embassy Suite, turn around, and then go back.
Okay.
And coming Wednesday, it's also a really nice event. It's in the morning, Wednesday morning. The location is Awa, Sergeant Pepper, in Tagileendert. And there is a children's morning. They get a small tour in the clinic. The foundation gives a presentation. They have certain things like I don't know, all kind of kids stuff, but based on the theme cats and dogs.
Okay.
That's for free. Our kids fun walk is 10 florins per child. It's not that I go shopping with it, but we try to collect as much as possible money for making more booklets to provide more children, because I noticed that children really like to read. They like the booklets.
Yep.
They like to
have something to do. Yes.
Yeah, but it's good to see everybody is we're bringing something. They're happy with it.
They're excited.
And if people want to have presentations, they can reach us on social media or via our website or email address. There's a contact form also they can fill out, but most of them know us from Facebook. So yeah, they can reach out and ask for a presentation, and we will schedule one. And yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much for that. The activity of next week that Esther mentioned, I shared it on Tina Talks. I will share it on my stories as well. If you don't follow me on social media yet, it's at sincerely.carolina and at Tina Talks. So I will be sharing some information of these activities. I care about this subject. I would like to consider myself a responsible pet owner. Our little family really cares about that. So I do want to encourage other people to do that as well. And I will also share, or you can already find Snoop Doggy in this week's flyer, so they are tagged in the post, so you can find them through there. And if you have any questions and you still haven't found them, send me a message and I will send those messages to Esther and she will get in touch with you. Thank you so much for today's conversation, Esther. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did.
I did. Thank you for inviting me. It was really nice.
Awesome. Keep up the awesome work.
Thank you. Will do.
All right, I hope that you learned a new thing or two today, and I hope that this helps you start conversations at home with friends. If you have a teacher friend, send them a message today, tell them how awesome they are, and maybe let them know that this is something that they could incorporate, right, in their classes. Yes, I hope you make better choices based on this information, and that we take the moment to think about our furry friends and realize that they depend on us for their livelihood as well. I want to say thank you to my awesome sponsors for allowing me to talk about whatever I want to talk about today. Was about responsible pet ownership and educating children about this. So thank you to Total, to Larash Vase, and to Gain. I appreciate you so much. Happy weekend. I will see you again next week. Yes, be nice, be kind. This is also Mental Health Awareness Month, so I will be touching some topics on that. But it might also be a good moment to check in again with friends, family members, and see how they're doing. Start a conversation. Right, happy Saturday. Be nice, be kind. See y'all next week. Bye. I'm Carolina, and I am the host of Sincerely Carolina, a series of educational conversations about current social issues with local and international experts. Make sure you tune in every Saturday on Cool FM from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.